Hello, my name is Alexander Lloyd Blake. I'm the founding artistic director of Tonality. I'm so honored to be speaking in this symposium for Peabody Conservatory. Today I'll be speaking about social justice concerts and how to make them effective. Certainly in the past 2 years, I think we have seen that there has been a raised awareness and an openness to talk about these issues. There is no lack of issues that we can talk about when we start to consider which stories we can center in our concerts. However, the music is just the first level where we can really start to engage in these conversations. And also, as we start to take a look at the growing awareness around the diversity that's needed in these conversations, using these social justice concerts and the programming and curating certainly gives us an opportunity to delve deeply into whose voices are being centered and are being represented. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. The first thing I would like to talk about is a call to action. So when you create these concerts, what is the point, right? Especially in the past couple of years and through the pandemic, a lot of attention was spent on so many issues of marginalization and injustice. So people are aware of the issues. So now we have an opportunity as artists and curator of programs to go farther than just talking about the issues, just bringing awareness to the issues. What do you want people to do in your concerts? Do you want to help people get registered to vote? Do you want to help get them connected to organizations? Do you want them to donate or volunteer? These are conversations that we can start to have that go, again, past just the talk and the thought about how to get people aware, because we have seen that the awareness has risen. We have seen that the awareness has risen. And therefore, how do we get people to get involved and activated, using empathy and the connection that we can bring as artists and musicians especially into this field. Also taking a look at diversity, making sure that we are taking care of really thinking about and seeing the different perspectives that are being shown, which really leads me to my second point. When we start to put together these concerts, and I think about my own experience in Tonality, I have studied music for a while. I am certainly involved and interested in issues, but I do not have all the answers. Why? Because I am not always directly involved in the most direct solutions. I'm also not always directly involved in the particular instance or examples of the stories in terms of the issues of social justice that we present. So, a part of our work, a part of my work, and I think our work as creators, is to really consider when we start to put together these concerts, who is involved at the table when it comes to really creating and choosing and selecting the specific opinions that are being presented. I certainly have my thoughts and my interests, but these issues are not mine. We live and we care about each other as a community. And so it's really important to make sure that we show that representation in the voices that are leading the planning processes of this concert. I'll give an example. Certainly when we were doing a concert around women's rights, we had planned the concert a couple of months before the Me Too movement really took an international awareness. And so I remember thinking, this is an amazing opportunity for us to really be right there, to really be in the center of this conversation with this movement. And I remember thinking, frankly, as a Black musician and a Black classical musician, there have been so many times that I have been involved in concerts where clearly people of my identity racially were not asked. And so I remember thinking, let's not make that mistake. And so I brought in a diverse panel of female presenting conductors, singers, a co-conductor to do the concert. And I remember presenting this idea of, I want to create a concert around the Me Too movement and really talk about it in a direct way through the music that we program. And almost everyone unanimously said, I applaud you on the effort, but that's not really helpful. Women's assault issues are men's issues. And so can we focus more on the strength of women, on the power and resilience of women? Yes, we can also talk about how others are involved in the silencing of those voices and that strength. You're really focusing on women's perspectives. And I thought, what an opportunity we would have missed if we had not had that conversation. I think it's really important, especially if you as a curator are not directly involved with the issue that you're talking about, or even if you are, to make sure that there is a well-rounded and a diverse group of people who are helping to lead and ask questions around those concerts. This is how we make sure that perspectives and people don't get missed. Especially in issues of social justice, we see a lot that oftentimes many people who are in the most privileged subset of a marginalized group get the attention, get the platform, usually to the detriment of everyone else. And it's really important that we start to see that when we start to create and curate these concerts. Now, of course, this is just with the particular people who are involved, but I think we can also start to work with organizations as well. When you think again about the call to action and when you think about whose voices are involved, how do we know what are the best solutions to be involved in? It's working with the organizations that are directly involved in the systematic change, in the solutions, in the work, in the direct work with the people who need the assistance. Every concert we involve these organizations to come, to give out pamphlets and information, to speak at the concert. And again, this is another way that we can start to give diverse voices a platform when we're working to make sure that the organizations are serving diverse populations in our community. People want to be seen and heard, and this is an example of how we can start to enhance that environment in our concerts. The organizations and the speakers are not the only ways to involve and expand and broaden our reach. Obviously, as a conductor or as a curator of a program, you have one identity that you yourself can show, or multiple identities, but you show one subset of that identity. Your singers show, or your players, or whatever artist you're involved in will show a myriad of identities. These are some ways that we can show diversity, but think about all the people that are involved, all the people that are helping to create a musical environment, to create a concert. You have your composers, the composers you might commission. You have the speakers, if we're talking about social justice issues again. You have the organizational leaders. You have the musical genres that you use to represent. You have the stories that you choose to center. Each of these facets of your concerts allow for there to be more expansion of who is seen. I think when we think about the challenge of who is brought to these concerts, we think about, why do people come? Why do people come see the arts? Why do people come to classical music? Some people come to feel good. A lot of people come to events and they continue to come back to events because they feel seen and heard and validated. And especially for a genre that has not always shown the same expansive evidence and potential of representing everyone in the community, this is the time where we can really look at each aspect of the concert and see what are the identities that are missing, what are the voices that have not been brought to the table yet, and we can really start to be intentional about filling in those gaps so that you can think about anyone who comes to your concert in some aspect, if not in multiple ways, they start to see themselves, which is also an act of social justice, making people feel seen and heard in places where they have felt silenced and they have felt invisible. This is the work we can do as musicians and artists. And I encourage you to really think about, if you're going to involve yourselves in these types of concerts and these types of conversations, to really look with a new lens. That lens is diversity and representation and possibility, about how we can all start to show the diversity and representation that we want to see. This is how we start to come together and really start to have real conversations about how we, as a full community, can start to engage in solutions and be the solutions for each other. Thank you very much.